A day of enormity, a day of peace, but also a day of questions and open ends. While Donald Trump visited the Middle East today, he sat down in Tel Aviv, he spoke at the Knesset in Jerusalem, and he went to Sharm el-Sheikh too for a peace ceremony in what is only the start of a long process of peace in the Middle East. Well, my name's Tom Harwood, and this is GB News Originals. Remember to click that subscribe button to stay completely up to date. Donald Trump views it as his mission to be a president of peace. He wants to solve wars around the world. He covets, allegedly, the Nobel Peace Prize, although it escaped his arms this year. Part of that is, of course, because the Nobel Peace Prize for this year was looking back in what was happening in 2024. Perhaps Donald Trump may be in for the Peace Prize next year, which will look back at 2025. But of course, this isn't just about one man and a prize of peace. This is about an entire new philosophy at the heart of the White House, a doctrine that has been known before as peace through strength. Ronald Reagan referred to something similar as to talk softly, but to carry a big stick. What does that mean? Well, Donald Trump has made no secret about the fact that he wants a strong and powerful military for the United States. He wants to spend more on the military. He wants to establish new branches of the military. Who could forget Space Force? But also, he wants to be feared around the world. He wants people to know, whichever country they lead, that the United States could respond strongly if they step out of line. Now, a lot of people view that as the doctrine of someone who wants war. Building up the military prowess of a country, surely, is predicating war. But not in the eyes of Donald Trump, not in the eyes of the Trump administration. In their view, what building up the capacity and the military might of the United States is actually about is peace. It's a funny sort of peace, given that Donald Trump has renamed, at least on one level, the Department of Defense the Department of War. But on the other hand, it's easy to see how that sort of power, that sort of military build-up, can stave off a conflict. And that's precisely what Donald Trump wants to achieve when it comes to the Middle East, when it comes to Ukraine, and when it comes to many other skirmishes around the world, whether that's Pakistan, India, or various South American and African conflicts. Donald Trump wants to stop these wars, not just because he wants to win that peace prize, but also because this is at the heart of his very different philosophy from the neoconservatism that has perhaps governed the Republican Party in decades past.
We're living in a time of what feels like pretty significant social change, and it makes us question things that we've even taken for granted for decades. And one of those at the moment that people are wondering about is actually money. Is the money in your bank account safe? Should you be investing elsewhere? Are we looking at a potential global crash? What will it mean for your savings? Is there a way that you could be using your money that might be outside of government control even? Well, TallyMoney is potentially one solution. So I'm delighted to say that I'm joined today by the CEO and founder of TallyMoney, Cameron Parry. What is TallyMoney?
Well, at TallyMoney, you basically get gold you can spend. So we give people an individual account in their name, everyday account. They get a sort code, an account number. They use that account just like they would pounds from their bank, but it's milligrams of gold that we brand as Tally.
Okay. Why would you do that, though? What is the benefit to the customer instead of just having a normal pound sterling account?
Gold's performance against the pound is above 11% per annum over the last 25 years on average. But we still need money in our daily lives, and we have savings. We know that it's good common sense and prudent to save up for things, not just live in credit. You know, whether it's a holiday or a rainy day, your retirement planning, you need to have money in your life, basically, that you can rely on, that's dependable, that nobody meddles with, that nobody can weaponize against you, which is another element of government control when it's the government currency, which we could talk about another time. And it should be pretty simple and straightforward, and that's what we deliver at Tally. And really, we just want people to feel safe and happy with their money. There was a time when the bigger your bank balance, the more confident you felt. Now it's like, I need to do something with it. I can't leave it there. In Tally, you can.
Okay, brilliant. Cameron Parry from TallyMoney, thank you so much.
Thank you, Bev.
Donald Trump stood to be leader of the Republican Party, to get that Republican nomination for president not once, but twice, on the basis of his opposition to the forever wars that the United States has got entangled with in Iraq, in Afghanistan, and further around the world. In many ways, Donald Trump stood on a more isolationist platform. And yet, strangely, it's a funny sort of isolationism, isn't it? Donald Trump has been travelling the world, trying to settle these conflicts, not succeeding in some cases, particularly in the case of Ukraine. He's come under heavy criticism for the fact that perhaps he took President Putin a little bit too at face value. Has that undermined the role of the United States when it comes to settling peace in that conflict that has been rolling for so much longer than the 2-year war in Gaza? But of course, today was all about Gaza. And what does this actually mean going forward? A 20-point peace plan that was promoted by the American administration last month was initially signed up to by Benjamin Netanyahu and latterly signed up to by Hamas. Netanyahu says that this meets all of Israel's war aims, to free the hostages and to set Gaza to be rid of Hamas, to demilitarize Gaza as a threat to Israel. The peace plan also says that it must start the process for negotiations on Palestinian self-determination. It raises the prospect of a two-state solution, of a Palestinian state, although that is point 19 of the 20 in the list. There's so much more in this peace plan, in this process. First, the phased withdrawal of Israel from Gaza. Israel is withdrawing to a line that demarks about half of the Gaza Strip as things stand. That was in return for the hostage releases. And we've seen those hostage releases today. We've seen hostages return to Jerusalem, be helicoptered in and driven as well to hospitals for medical checkups. Drive past Hostage Square, where so many Israelis gathered to not just mourn those they've lost, but celebrate those who have returned. Such a strange atmosphere reporting from Hostage Square in Tel Aviv. We've spoken to people on the ground there throughout the day who've reported this celebratory atmosphere. People are so happy that after so long this war is over. But of course it's a happiness tinged with sadness that this war went on for quite so long and that quite so many Israelis' lives were taken, destroyed, or radically altered. But Donald Trump spoke in the Knesset as the first American president to do so since 2008. He spoke following both Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, and the leader of the Israeli opposition as well. They were all singing from one hymn sheet, thanking Donald Trump for his work, but also hopeful for a future where Hamas is not a militarized terror organization running a neighbor to Israel, and instead Gaza is demilitarized. How likely is that going forward? Well, we did see some interruption in that speech. We saw 2 communist members of the Knesset stand up and protest Donald Trump's speech, although they were swiftly bundled out. But the whole affair took so much longer than was first being expected. Donald Trump was turning up to Sharm el-Sheikh 3 hours later than was initially planned for the signing ceremony, meeting with people like Keir Starmer, the British Prime Minister, Emmanuel Macron, the French President, as well as the Chancellor of Germany, Merz, and the Meloni, Prime Minister of Italy. You saw Erdogan, the leader of Turkey, as well as so many Middle Eastern leaders as well. The Emir of Qatar, who played such an important role in mediating so many of these negotiations over time, all hosted by President Sisi of Egypt. This a moment of symbolism, yes, but also questions arise in terms of the next step of this peace plan. Questions arise in terms of who sits on the board of peace, that international overarching observing body to ensure that there is a transition away from a militarized Gaza. How successful will that be? Well, these peace processes are tortured and often fractured. There are still many questions that are left being asked about exactly how long will this process take. What will the governance of Gaza genuinely look like? And what will this international peace force that is meant to enforce the law in Gaza once the IDF has withdrawn, just how will that be comprised and how successful might it be? There have already been skirmishes in Gaza. Part of the deal, of course, was the release of terrorists and violent criminals, hundreds of whom had been serving life sentences for their crimes in Israeli prisons. Well, many of them have now been released, 1,700 by last count, into Gaza. Does that make an already unstable place more or less stable? Well, I'll leave you to be the judge of that. But clearly big issues ahead. This is just the very start of a peace process, not the end. Donald Trump does say one thing to leave you thinking about, though, and that is that this isn't just about a peace between Israel and Hamas. This is about a peace in the wider Middle East. In his first term in his administration, Donald Trump secured what were known as the Abraham Accords, where a number of countries in the Middle East officially recognised Israel for the first time, recognised Israel as a sovereign state. Could more countries in the Middle East be joining that Abraham Accords process, peace and recognition between the Jewish state and the Muslim states in the same region? Well, that indeed would be a profound moment for Donald Trump, but also for Jared Kushner, his Jewish son-in-law, who indeed was behind so much of those negotiations. Could it be that the erratic and unusual diplomatic style of Donald Trump has been able to bring together Arab leaders, the relationship that he's built with, for example, Qatar, with Saudi Arabia, places that he has visited time and time again? Has he been able to bring those people to the table and work towards a solution that actually is mutually beneficial for these fractious and many times divided states in the region? Well, that remains to be seen, but what we saw today certainly was that first step in that long road towards peace. We'll keep a close eye at it here on GB News, so do remember to click that subscribe button and stay up to date with these twists and turns of a remarkable and perhaps hopeful story of peace in the Middle East.
GB News isn't just a channel. It's a family.
And now you can be a part of it. Join our membership for exclusive content and to be part of the conversation.
We're building something different together.
So join us today.
Because your voice deserves to be heard. Become a GB News member today.
Visit gbnews.com/support or scan the QR code on screen now. Thank you.